We're going into the fourth quarter of 2012 here in Omaha, Nebraska, and we are looking at a new mayoral campaign. Jim Suttle, of course, is the incumbent. A lot of people out there think they can do a little bit better job. It's touch and go, just like the presidential candidates. So we're going to introduce the college business students that are here today and have helped produce Wild Biz Weekly to one of our mayoral candidates here in Omaha, Nebraska. By the way, I have to tell you, he comes from retail. He's been around for a long time in that milieu, but he also has been a legislator for years. He's very familiar with the dynamics of Omaha. Ladies and gentlemen, I want a special welcome, please, for Mr. Brad Ashford, mayoral candidate here in Omaha. Don't trip. Good to see you, Brad. Come on in and sit down. Great to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
I'm sure your candidate or your campaign is rapid, huh?
We're rolling along.
Rolling along. You feel
very
like
entrepreneurial.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you said the key word right before,
right.
I mean, just right at the beginning, right? That's one of the buzzwords. You know, I know that you have a background in business as well as, of course, legislation and so on. I'd like to visit for just a few minutes here in front of these students and the business community here in Omaha and talk about your take on business, your perspective on it, and why don't you just give us a quick encapsulation of the business side of your career for just a couple seconds.
Well, I started in retail.
Yeah.
I'm also a practicing lawyer, but what's amazing to me is to see what's happened to business opportunity here in Omaha in the last, let's say, 10, 15 years with the students here and others that are at the show today. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing. Omaha has been transformed, music-wise, technology-wise. We started working on the PKI project in the legislature years ago, and look what that's evolved.
Tremendous,
so
turning into kind of a magnetic center. It just keeps attracting projects and money.
I have a 26-year-old daughter living in, working in New York, and so my goal in running for mayor is to get her. If I wouldn't be running,
make it so attractive,
she'd leave New York and come Omaha. So that's where I'm at.
That's actually a great goal. Well, what lessons have you learned? What can you pass along here as a sage, as a seer in this context? And
thank you for.
You like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, share with them any insights that you have about business. I mean, we just talked to Bruce Arendt. He talked about the importance of resilience and adaptation as your business evolves and the market keeps changing on you.
Planning. I mean, I think something we lack in government is a little bit is planning ahead, and then and trust. Our family was in the retail clothing business at 15th and Farnham.
Yes.
Started in 1886.
Wow.
So we've been here a while. Bunch of Swedes, and I think when you're in the retail clothing business, you learn how to trust is a major thing. You have to trust your customers, and your customers have to trust you, or you might as well just close the door. So I think trust is one of the lessons. Also, building relationships.
Yes.
Through trust. Your customer, I remember as a young person down at the store, at the noontime, people would come in from UP, and they'd spend their lunch hour there, and that's what I grew up with. So that's sort of been a model, and I don't think it matters what business you're in. You've got to have those things going for you.
You absolutely do. Now, as we look into the future, all right, and if you were talking to downtown Rotary, those kinds of folks, and they said, well, you know, what about the business community here? We've got sewer issues, we have infrastructure issues. Obviously, there's budget issues, there's union stuff going on. But what about the business community? And of course, maybe David Brown sitting there from the chamber, and he's dying to hear what you got to say about this. What would be your message about that aspect of this experience?
The reason I'm running for this office, I've been in the legislature a long time, is that we need to build a platform for future business. What that platform means is we've got to keep, and it's trite to say, but we have to run government like many ways like the private sector, and the way you do that is by building public-private partnerships that matter. I worked on the Quest Center from the very beginning, and that was a public-private partnership. Mike remembers bringing the business community in as a donor.
Yeah,
$75 million, and that traditionally running convention centers and arenas, that was a city function. But we decided early on in that project, no, we're going to bring the private sector in a meaningful way. And when you do that, your government has a role to enable and to keep things moving, but the private sector has the Mecca that runs the Quest Center has a $30 million reserve. I don't know of any government entity
that has any reserves at all, frankly.
The city of Omaha that has $30 million
unless they have an issue with taxes. So
right. Now we got to keep we've got to address the deficit. Approximately $1 billion in deficit in the pension plans.
Huge.
And these kids, young people, I'm sorry, kids is the wrong word, they cannot be saddled with the burden of how we didn't address that.
That would be
problem.
irresponsible.
It would be irresponsible. It would be negligent. I have a 26-year-old, 32-year-old, and a 15-year-old, and I'm not about to let them have to fiddle with that stuff. All right. 10, 15 years
Great
ago.
answer. As we wrap up here, Brad,
yeah.
let me ask you a philosophical question.
Yes.
This has come out of the presidential race, but it's also obviously macro, micro, it's applicable at this local level as well. We're talking about the real purpose of capitalism and of business, all right? The philosophical overarching idea behind it. And two interesting ideas have emerged. One is that business is all about wealth creation, all right? That's one paradigm. Creating wealth, right? Another paradigm is job creation, right? Now these two particular paradigms don't necessarily meld or match, or they don't necessarily prompt the same kinds of activities. Share your thoughts about that first.
Well, first of all, I think as it relates to government, we don't allow risk to enter into governmental service. We've got to allow people that want to be in public service to understand risk, because that's what the private sector is all about.
Yeah.
It is about growing wealth, but we're not going to be able to grow jobs in the government sector. It has to come from the private sector, and so we have to encourage that at in every step of the way. It meshes, but if we bring more risk, government tends to be risk averse because it's
absolutely.
because they're not using their own money.
Yes,
they're using your money,
right?
My money. And if we understand that and give people an opportunity even to fail, they're going to succeed.
Yeah.
And I think that's the lesson we learn from business.
Fantastic insight. How about it, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Brad Ashford right here. Brad, thanks for coming. I couldn't have asked for a better interview, sir. Great to see you. Thank you so very, very much. We'll be right back on Wild Biz Weekly. I'm Lynn Hinderrocker. Don't go away. All right. Thanks a lot.